Hey guys, welcome to our how to do matrices on a calculator video. So I'm using an emulator for the TI-84 Plus Silver Edition. If you have an 83 or any other 84, it should all be mostly exactly the same. If you have a Casio or anything like that, you're going to want to Google some YouTube videos on how to do this on that specific calculator. The vast majority of people have an 83 and 84 for this class. So if you have something different, you're going to have to look that up. So I want to start with example 7 from the notes, which was to solve the system 2x plus 3y equals -1 and x minus 2y equals 3. So that's one that we've done a few times. That's the first example that we did. So we know what the solution should be. We did it in the video, or if you pause the video and come over here, right, we're about to do it right now. So the first thing is how to get to matrices. So notice if we look at our calculator right here, this button that says x to the -1, and above that it says matrix. So we're going to second, go to matrix. And now this is what you see here. It's really nice because we see the names. And so the names is where we're going to call up our matrices later. So when we're back on the home screen of the calculator and we want to use a matrix, we want to use it in a function or anything like that, this is how we're going to do it using the names. If we go over to math, this is where we have all of the different operations that we are able to do on a matrix. And then if we go over to edit, this is how we choose a matrix to edit it. So we need to do that. So in this example, we've already created the augmented matrix for the system. So we're going to go here to edit and hit enter on number 1 for no other reason than it's the first one. Now, we are dealing with matrix A, and this right here is our dimensions. Notice this is currently a 1 by 1 matrix, so we have one row with only one column, and it's just set up that way. For this system, because we have 2 equations, that gives us 2 rows. Okay, and you could do like 23, right? But we have 2, so we just want to have just 2, and then hit enter. So now it gives us 2 rows, and we have 3 columns. And so we do 2 by 3, and we hit enter again. And so now we can see we have a 2 by 3 matrix here. Notice these are the end brackets, if you will. And so this system, the augmented matrix that we've created is 2. And then if you just hit enter, it's going to cycle you through the row. So you can kind of quickly type these out as you get more comfortable with this. So 2, then 3, then -1. And hopefully this shouldn't be something new to you, but if you're doing negatives, you have to use the negative button. If you use the subtraction button, your calculator is looking, what am I subtracting from? And it'll give you a syntax error. So make sure if you're doing a negative number, you use the negative button. Okay. So once it finishes that row, it's going to jump you down to the first column of the next row, which in this problem is 1, then -2, and then 3. Okay. Once you finish your last entry, the last row, the last column, it's just going to leave it right there. If you need to move around, just use your arrows to go to whatever value you want to, and you get it done. So now we've entered our matrix. It's in here. So we need to second and quit. If we do type anything, if we do start doing anything, it's going to put it into that space in the matrix that we are in. And so you have to, once you've got your calculator in, before you can do anything else, you have to actually quit out of that screen. And now we want to go back into the matrix menu, but this time we're going to choose to do math. And now if we scroll down, it's a ways down here, you can see that options A and B, and I believe that's the same no matter which version. If it's if you have an 83, it might be slightly different. So just double check, make sure that those match up, that you're not just doing A, and it's not actually the right thing. So A is row echelon form, B is reduced row echelon form. I'm just going to do A here for one example, and then B is what we're going to use every other time. So we pretty much always, and for you practically speaking outside of this lesson, always going to use reduced row echelon form because it's just better. So we're going to do row echelon form for this example one time. So we hit enter and it gives us this. Now our calculator is saying, okay, I'm ready to do row echelon form, but we need to tell it what we want it to do row echelon form on. And to do that, we're going to go second, matrix. And now under names, we can see matrix A, we have our 2 by 3 matrix that we've created. And we're just going to choose enter. And then you can close it out or not. If this is all you're doing, you don't really need to close that parenthesis, it's fine. And then we hit enter. And we see that this is now that matrix in row echelon form. So if you remember in the lesson, we did this. We put it into row echelon form and we got this right here. And so this tells me that y is -1. We can then back substitute, and we can end up with that x is 1. Okay. So what about reduced row echelon form? Well, the process would start the same way. You would go over to edit, you'd put your matrix in. Once your matrix entered in, we go to math, and then you can also go up, and that'll cycle you to the bottom. We want option B, reduced row echelon form. Okay, and again, we need to tell it what we want to do that on. So we go to names, do that here, and then we just hit enter. And so that puts us into reduced row echelon form. We have ones on that Meg diagonal, zeros above and below, and then our resulting column. So we have that x equals 1, y equals -1. And that's it. Okay. Now let's move on to example 8. We are asked to solve the system x plus y plus z equals 1, negative x plus y plus z equals 5, and y plus 2z equals 5. So that is our system of equations. So we have 3 equations, 3 unknowns. So that means we know our augmented matrix is going to be a 3 by 4. And so we can do this using our calculator. And so we just wanted to start, anytime we're dealing with a matrix in here, we always start the same way. Go to the matrix, go over to edit, and we can choose whatever we want to do. Now, you could feel free to go and choose number 2 here, or for matrix B. But I like to just, unless I need this matrix for another thing, which in this case I don't, I'm just going to keep with option number 1. Just continue to choose the same thing. Because I can just change the dimensions. So notice I changed the rows to 3. It gave me a third row. And now when I choose 4 for the columns, notice the symbol here changed. And the reason why is because the spacing, the sizing of our calculator, it's going to keep always displaying 3 columns. But notice here, instead of having a bracket like this to show the end, it's got a dash. And that just means that this row continues. And so we're going to enter this matrix in the augmented matrix, which again, if you've already watched the video, you've already seen what the augmented matrix is. If you haven't watched the video, maybe go back to that video, scroll forward, or look in your notes and look at example 8, and we'll create the augmented matrix for that before you keep going in this video. But our matrix is 1, 1, 1. Notice it just automatically rolled over to that 4th column, 1. And then our second row is -1, 1, 1, 5. And our third row is 0, 1, 2, 5. So now we have all of these entered in. We have all of these done. So now what we want to do is we want to go through and make sure that we didn't mistype anything. And I can see all 3 rows and the kind of final 3 columns. I want to make sure those all look right. Okay, come over here. Everything looks good. So now I'm just going to quit. And so here's a cool shortcut. If you are doing a lot of matrices, you're doing a lot of augmented and then reduced echelon form and stuff like that, say like on a homework, by continuing to re-edit option A, what's cool is I can actually right now, because the last thing my calculator did was it took and did reduced row echelon form on matrix A. Well, I've since changed what matrix A is, but if I hit enter, it is still just going to run the reduced row echelon form on matrix A again. Even though since A has changed, it's going to give me a different output. So if you're doing this for, say, a homework where you're going to have to do multiple reduced row echelon forms on things all the time, this is kind of a nice way that you can kind of help to save yourself some steps. But it's not a bad idea just to go through the steps again. So I've edited our matrix. Okay, so we go back to the matrix menu. Now I want to go over to math. Now I remember that reduced row echelon form is option B. So to just jump to that, so if I just press, so like say if I wanted to do fill, I could just press 4 and it would automatically select that option. But what I can do is, so since this is option B, I need to hit B. So I need to go alpha B. And it just automatically chooses reduced row echelon form for me. Now again, I need to go back into the matrix menu and to choose the name of the matrix that I entered the information into and hit enter. And we get our reduced row echelon form here, 1, 0, 0, negative 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2. And so if we go back from this reduced row echelon form matrix to a system of equations, we get that x equals negative 2, y equals 1, and z equals 2. Okay. Now, the last two examples I'm going to do parts B and C of example 9. And so we're going to go to our matrix. We're going to edit option A. It's a 3 by 4. Okay. I'm going to see if I can type. So we get 3, negative 1, 3, negative 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 0, 0. Okay, so this is the system of equations for example 9, part B. This is our augmented matrix. So we've got our matrix entered. We quit. Again, this is where I can just hit enter because I just did this reduced row echelon form, but I'm going to go back in here. Math, we'll go to option B, just so we can get those motions kind of nice and down, understood. Then hit enter. So here we see we get that 1, 0, negative 0.40, 0, 1.60, 0, 0, 0, 1, like we got in the video for the actual lesson. If you're looking at this going, what in the world do I do with that? You haven't watched the lesson video yet, go back, finish the lecture video, and I'll explain what to do here. Okay. Now, I think that's enough. We've done a few examples of this, and so I'm going to leave it to you guys. Hopefully this all makes sense. If you have questions on how to enter this in your calculator, please send me a message, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. All right, you guys, have a great day.